what is up everyone? I am Tiano here from the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our special new redo Let's Play for our channel. Now if you guys are probably thinking that don't pull off the actual April Fool's joke at this point today, well, I decided to not go into because as you can see we're still stuck onto the actual health and safety warning precautions ever since in Mario Party 6, Mario Party 7, Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, Mario Power Tennis, and all kinds of games like that always attempt to have these kinds of stuff nowadays. Well, the only time exception is of course Nintendo Switch software, but I just want to point that out. So today, we'll present to you our special redo Let's Play of, well, if we managed to able to tell for the title of this video already, we're about to be doing a redo Let's Play of Donkey Kong Jungle Beat for not only for the Nintendo GameCube, but also for the Nintendo Wii version as well. Because of this, we might actually do something completely different compared to other Let's Players of this game in particular, that I'm going to be tackling for the GameCube version, and as far as someone else can able to do the Wii version all in one. So either way, and yeah, this is my first time experiencing this, well, not necessarily for this version, just because I play this on my own time, get a lot of practice with this though, and hopefully we should be able to actually just to consider this to be, well, the actual main centric. So either way, and yeah, just delete the actual main file on my memory card as you can see, just because I was originally trying to able to actually just to go ahead and continue what I left off. But let's have a little bit more fun just for the sake of the forms of likely trying to restart everything up. So yeah, I guess that's how it goes basically. So even then, this game, specifically the GameCube version, does require you to be able to utilize with the DK bongos with, such as for instance, that in its little particular intro sequence, we need to clap for about 3 times, and then if you've done so already, then you would able to jump right in. So there's Donkey Kong with his whole glory in the opening ceremony. And basically all you need to do is basically we have to go all the way to the right by simply keep on bashing the actual right bongos. So when you come to this tree, then you have to simply clap, and then you would able to actually just well, beat the likes of that tree up. And this is how the actual game begins. Donkey Kong Jungle Beat. Specifically the GameCube version I was playing through, and another toy is going to be able to be focusing on the Wii version. So yes, because I say that because this game did came out in 2004 originally in Japan, but a year later in the English version, specifically the American and the PAL regions. So even then, as you can tell, I've set this on 60Hz mode because, well, what else should be expected? That the 60Hz mode has always been a little bit more flawless to run through, except, you know, 50Hz, because 50Hz is so slow. So anyways, you get actually, now finally access to the opening ceremony on your spare time. So either way though, let's not focusing on that right now. So let's head on to the first kingdom of this game, which appears to be the Banana Kingdom in Don Savanna. In this case, the first stage in the game. So yeah, this game plays out pretty differently compared to the forms of the Donkey Kong Country games, if you're familiar with those specific stuff. Rather than just have yourselves Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong with you for the entire adventure, it's just Donkey Kong all by himself. And the actual main element of this game, especially for the unique selling point of this game, is that if you haven't played Donkey Konga before, that you obviously get yourselves the actual free bundle controller, which is of course the DK bongos themselves. Basically, it just gets the DK bongos kind of game and make it into a platformer game. And also because as you can see on the actual, well, as you can see on this little number count on the top left corner, as you can see right now I've got 108 bananas, or beats as what's known in the actual game. Because basically the entire element of this game is the fact that if you really want to improve your high scores or anything like that, basically as you can see on this little trick right here, I have to pull off a lot of combos depending on some stipulations. Mainly, if you try to do some sort of like a backflip, and then also ground pound, and just try to interact with certain things, and also trying to able to wall jump, and I suppose that's pretty much about it. And then the more you pull off some combos, as you can see, then the more beats you're going to be obtaining for. So either way, it seems it's pretty cool though. That's the only reason why I essentially really enjoyed this game basically. It doesn't matter what versions you're going to be playing through. So even then though, when I thought the first time I experienced this game, that was actually on the Wii version. Because back in True New Forms of 2008, I wasn't really sure if I was going to get this version at first. But it wasn't until in 2016 when I suddenly managed to actually finally obtain this game on the GameCube version, just for some fun replayability and all that stuff. And there's also another huge difference between the Wii version slash the GameCube version is the fact that the actual level layout is actually slightly different compared to the forms of those two versions, which I'm sure someone else can able to actually just point things out for the sake of the forms of this Let's Play in particular. So either way though, let's hit into this banana. And every time you reach to the end, then you obviously have to able to grab the insane amount of beats, or in this case, well, just beats in this game. And that way you should able to actually add up to your total amount for that specific number. So here we go with this next portion of this kingdom, which is Jungle Deeps. So basically for this first kingdom, it's actually pretty simple, self-explanatory, especially noticeable that this game really encourages you to able to get a lot of emphasis on controlling the actual game with, of course, the DK bongos. In fact, the first time I've actually saw this game was actually thanks to the forms of the actual Game Official magazine. Comes with the actual DVD that actually, that actually features the actual gameplay footage of Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, specifically the Japanese release of the game. So just in case you've held the fact of how this game actually plays out, specifically if they're able to actually get a lot of usage on the DK bongos. And if I recall correctly, back in the day that is, before we do that, there's actually a secret in here. Because yeah, if you see this little chimps and stuff like that, tells you where the secrets are. Basically, I highly recommend you check on those out in just a moment. And as you can see on the bottom right corner, that we actually got ourselves the actual the pedals kind of collective stuff. Although at the moment right now, I'm off by one left, which is kind of bizarre, but either way though, this is probably because I wasn't really quick or fast enough in order to actually obtain them all. But if what happens if you do manage to collect all 100 of those pedals, if you're probably wondering, well, this will give us 100 beats. Well, as compared to the Wii version, we'll talk more about it until later. So as you can see, let's go ahead and eat some of these little muncher stuff. Yeah, you can't do this on the GameCube version, and as far as the Wii version is concerned, then, well, we'll discuss more about it until later. So either way, now let's go ahead and trying to get some more beats, specifically trying to defeat those enemies here. And before we do anything, let's just go ahead and pull off these actual combo chain reactions. Sometimes it can be pretty tricky to execute because obviously we're still playing this on the DK bongos, which is the game is expecting you to able to recommend you playing. But if you play this with the GameCube controller, the actual notification tells you to say that it's probably best to recommend you able to utilize with you know, just DK bongos. So, and the reason why that, as you can see, I managed to do this little trick right there, because this is actually a really good way to able to come across into, what else? A lot of secrets. Like, for instance, we come across into those whole stack of bananas right there, and if we go all the way back from here, then you know how the fact that since we got a full combo on that specifically for that specific segment, that way, if you try to collab too, that way you can able to actually get yourselves a good chance to able to obtain a lot more beats. Because of that, if you try to grab it normally, they get like lesser amounts. So either way though, can you get off please? Thank you. Yeah, as you can see right there, we actually come across into certain helpers, mainly with the forms of that. Specifically, I would say the actual, it's been such a long while since I actually played Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, because I'm pretty much used to with Donkey Kong Country, but either way though, that's just how it goes basically. So either way though, as you can see, I'm playing this on the Nintendo Wii console just because of backwards compatibility, so that's cool and good news at the same time. However though, that since we're going to be focusing on both versions of this game, so this means as a result we're going to be showing you guys of how different the level layouts can be. So as a result for this kinds of stuff though, yeah, that's all I can say about it. Now as you can see, we reached into specifically 1300 or more beats for this point now, because if you couldn't tell already, that this game does have a lot of courage to able to give us not only one, not four, not 3. Well, if you play the Wii version, you're able to actually obtain 3 of these little crests in mind. In a GameCube version, does have 4 different crests, which there are the bronze crest, and as well as the silver crest, gold, and lastly, perhaps the most, you know, the challenging part of them all, is the platinum crest, which we'll probably talk more about until later, because for now, we ended up in the forms of the first boss in the game. You know, think of like the act structure from the Sonic the Hedgehog games, basically, except, well, you're playing in a Donkey Kong game, of course. So, here we go with this first boss in this game, which appears to be Dread Kong, the first of the Kong bosses. Now, whenever we get to the later bosses of this game, basically we're able to come across into a different kind of bosses. Some of them are recolors, or no, not so much recolors, well, some of them are recolors until later on, but specifically for Kong battles, they actually pretty much have some different names in between. And as you can see with all these, the amount of beats I've managed to got, basically this will act out as your health meter. So as a result, yeah, the entire objective on most of this boss fights is just you have to like clap to dodge and then just, well, beat the crap out of him with the actual bongos themselves. So, yeah, Dread Kong is actually a pretty easy boss fight if you manage to get the hang of this though. So even then though, yeah, no damage whatsoever. And that pretty much takes care of the Banana Kingdom in the GameCube version, because, well, obviously we say that yet again because of how the fact that we'll add some toys we'll mention about the forms of the Wii version's differences anyway, so yeah, here's the actual bronze crests. So I believe in order to actually get these crests in between, that, to get the bronze crest, I believe you do need to acquire about 500, or, no, 200 I should say. And I believe silver for 500 and 800 for the gold. And finally, the platinum one, well, we'll get to that as soon as we're able to get to it. I know some people always attempt to come across into 3 crests in one, but I'm just trying to able to go for the ultimate challenge by going for all 4 of those 4 crests in between. Now, as you can see, we got a platinum crest. To get to that, we need to get up to 1200 beats. I'm not kidding, 1200 beats, or in this case, if you want to call it 1200 beats to get it, and it's actually always at the top of the moon itself. So, yeah, that's pretty cool though. So as you can see, we got 4 crests, and we can now able to unlock the next kingdom, which appears to be the Orange Kingdom. And not only that, we unlock the next kingdom as well, which is the Watermelon Kingdom. And also, we might able to unlock another kingdom. So that's 3 kingdoms we've actually unlocked, because we've already got ourselves 4 crests so far. In this case, we got an Apple Kingdom. So yeah, that's pretty much about it when it comes to the GameCube version of Banana Kingdom. So we'll let someone else move on to the Wii version now. So yeah, take your role. Thank you, Tiana. So basically, in the forms of the Wii version, as you can see on this intro sequence, is actually a lot different compared to the forms of the GameCube version this time around. Because basically, from the start though, is the fact that rather than take control of the DK Bonkos, instead, you're actually going to be taking control of the Wii Remote and a Nunchuck all in one. And also the actual level layout in the opening ceremony is actually a lot different, because basically, all you need to do is just go all the way to the right? Well, turns out there's going to be a lot of those gems, as you can see, just got trapped inside these bubbles occasionally. Now, as you can see, in order to be able to actually just to do, well, just trying to able to actually just noticing for this fact, is the fact that, well, it's obviously kind of like a tutorial segment, as you can see right there. So, however though, there's a huge differences between this and the forms of the GameCube release. It's the fact that, although you still do the exact same thing, likely due to the fact that we can still able to actually beat this tree up, and able to obtain the giant barrel, and the title screen is usually pops up. And also, as you can see, this is all in widescreen support, by the way, so even then you can able to see what's on the far left or the far right. And also, you can't actually access the opening ceremony this time around in this version, unlike the GameCube version, that you can simply access the opening ceremony at all times. So either way though, as you can see, we're now onto the Wii version of that, specifically the Kingdom selection. So obviously we're gonna go for, you know, the Banana Kingdom to start off with. And obviously the actual main levels is still practically the same, like we're still going to go through Dawn Savanna, as you can see, as well as Jungle Deeps, as you can see. Now, the biggest differences between the GameCube version and the Wii version, as you can see, is the fact that, as what Tiana already mentioned about this in the GameCube version, is that, as you can see, some of these layouts, especially with some of these tutorial little hints and tricks and stuff like that, actually shows up. And especially noticeable, some of these hazards are now usually becomes common now. And also, we got ourselves these hearts, which are differently from the GameCube version because, as you can tell, in addition to able to having ourselves 3 hearts, instead, well, usually in the GameCube version that the only time you can only get damaged by the forms of certain hazards is of course the beasts themselves. But this time, however, though, in this particular version of the game, you take hits it doesn't matter if you get hit by an enemy or hazard or anything like that, your heart will be able to be taken down. Which, taking notice from Super Mario Galaxy, Super Mario Galaxy 2, and recently Super Mario Odyssey, that you do have 3 units of health. And also another changes between the GameCube release and the Wii version is that you have the extra life system, which every time you come across into the DK coins, and especially noticeable if you collect 100 of those petals, as you can see on the beginning portion of this stage, basically that you would able to actually obtain the 1-up, as opposed to in the GameCube release, it gives you about 100 beads. So, although the entire objective in this game is pretty much exactly the same as the GameCube release, except a noticeable difference is the fact that while some level layouts can usually change up slightly, such as for instance that we've now got ourselves the catches to able to avoid, although this game still has the combo system, which even though that's usually expected. And also because certain enemies, like these enemies right here, normally in the GameCube version it doesn't seem to harm you, but in this version in particular, all you need to do is basically just you need to ground pound them. So either way though, that way it'll deals them out, rather than just becoming into blue variations of themselves, unlike the GameCube version of the game. And especially noticeable how the fact that, while certain enemies doesn't seem to get A10, specifically with, with these wall munchers, that you can't do this on, well, we'll point it out whenever we get onto the faults of Jungle Deeps, for sure. So anyways though, let's go ahead and just get some more beats from here, or, as for this version of the game, it just calls it bananas rather than just beats, which I have no idea why this does that, so, also there's an extra life there, and let's head on to this banana thing here. And shake the Wiimote and the nunchuck as fast as possible, so that way we can able to obtain, what else? Some more bananas/beads. And also the actual HUD system is actually slightly different than the forms of, as well as the fonts too, is actually a lot different than the GameCube version as well. So even then though, as what Tiana already mentioned about this before, this is actually the first ever version that we've able to actually played. Probably because we're actually super excited about this when this came out. Especially noticeable, despite this is actually a port to the GameCube release, so as a result, in addition to able to have some several changes, mainly with the actual controls and the actual level layout and everything, it also has these extra exclusive stuff of how the Wii version actually offers us, unlike the GameCube release, doesn't seem to have them. Well, the only thing we can need to point things out is the fact that unlike the GameCube version, that with the crest system, as what Tiana mentioned this before, that this version does not have 4 of those crests. Instead, we can able to only get just 3. So even then though, to make it a little bit obvious, because there was actually a cool reward if you managed to able to complete certain kingdoms. So, but then again, we'll talk more about it whenever we're able to get onto that stuff. So either way, and as far as I'm aware, me and Tiana were so looking forward to able to actually just doing, well, usually back in the day, about the fact that well, obviously today's day is the forms of the 1st of April today in the forms of 2020, so this means April Fool's Day. And as a result, the reason why we're going to be doing the redo Let's Play of this game this time, because, well, usually back in the day, in 2012, all the way up to 2013, that was the last time I actually played this version, by the way, and, yeah, we'll talk more about it until later. So as you can see with these little munchers right here, you can't eat them in this version, unlike the GameCube release, you can able to eat them. So either way though, let's just go ahead and slam onto this wall and try to perform this nice little trick before we're able to actually do a nice little combos and everything. So, we're hoping we can able to just pull that off, so I'm not sure I'm trying to do this though. Let's just get off here. So yeah, I did manage to able to did this back in 2012, all the way up to 2013, and as a result, the actual Let's Play quality of, specifically, the only version I always attempt to tackle through is of course the Wii version port, and as a result, the actual quality of the original Let's Play, despite the fact that it was no longer there, somehow it needs to be taken down because of how the fact that we decided to able to improve upon, well, the actual quality and everything. So as a result, between the GameCube version as well as this version, as you can see on screen, the actual quality is simply a lot better than the forms of how it does it in, back in 2012 and 13 years, just because, probably because of how the fact that we still have a Buzzlebee, crappy, camera quality and stuff like that, which, you know, it sort of helps it out, so even then though, and thanks to the power of this capture card and stuff like that. So, usually I played the Wii version a lot back in the day in 2009 when this was released. Now I'm pretty sure it's usually, well, as far as what Tiana already mentioned this before, this game did originally came out in 2004 in Japan, specifically in the GameCube version, and then a year later in 2005 for, you know, the English version. And unlike the Wii version, on the other hand, I'm pretty sure this version came out in 2008 in Japan. Now, I'm pretty sure in 2009 from everywhere else. I might be wrong, probably because it's been such a long while since, or such a long time, so we're able to actually get back into this version of the game. So, anyways, let's get into this banana right here and get some more beads. And you know what these hearts, as I mentioned earlier? Well, if you make it to that third portion of the actual kingdom, it actually gives you some more bananas, specifically 150 bananas. So as you can see, we almost have the 2,000 bananas mark, but I'm sure we got enough before we're able to actually get ourselves all 3 quests, which we'll probably talk more about it until later. So obviously Dread Kong Battle plays out exactly the same as you remember from the GameCube release, except, well, the actual health bar colors is actually different if depending on how much bananas you actually obtain from, so, or beads in general to be more precise. Although there's something that Dread Kong does slightly different, and that is the forms of how the fact that he dodges your attacks for about 1 or 2 or 3 times occasionally. So apart from that though, he's actually still once again pathetically easy, just like the GameCube version. So, but it does slightly do a little bit different to ourselves for this point, but even then though still remains the same. So, as you can see, we actually got ourselves our crown, which has not appeared on the forms of the original GameCube release. So as a result, yeah, and every time you get into the crest check, as you can see for that result screen, Donkey Kong always wears his crown during some of these segments. Now, as you can see, we got the these crests, as you can see. Like the first 2 you can only obtain for is, of course, as you can see on this little number count, you can able to reach for about 200 for the first crest, and then 500 for the second, and the third and final crest, which you only have to obtain until you're able to get yourselves 1,000 bananas, which is kind of different amount compared to the platinum crest on the GameCube version. So, and every time when you finish certain levels or certain kingdoms in this version, sometimes they tried this hint movies always showed up, so even then I just want to point it out. So yeah, with that being said though for this point guys, I think we should probably end things off at this point right there. So join us next time, well me and Tiana next time for more of Let's Play of Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, is the fact that we're going to be hit on to the Orange Kingdom, possibly the shortest kingdom of this whole entire game. So yeah, we'll point that out right away, and we'll see you guys until on Friday. Later fellas.